Teddy Roosevelt 2019 is not monetized. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and share so more viewers will see this information. Thank you.
I will end the regime change wars that have taken far too many lives, cost trillions of dollars, and undermined our security.
They had the little mobile units that we had to put our clothes in like a net duffel bag. Halliburton charged the government $100 for every bag of clothes they washed.
Whenever we got our laundry back, it felt worse than when we turned it in. Everything was still grimy. I stopped taking my laundry into KBR, and instead, I was washing it in the sink. And I was told by my chain of command that I was not allowed to wash my laundry on my own. I had to take it to KBR to have it washed, even though we all knew that they were doing a horrible job because they get $99 a bag for a bag of laundry that I could do at home for $3.
I am running as a Democrat to take our party back, away from the control of people like Hillary Clinton and the warmongering and corrupt, powerful establishment.
In addition to this, the US has a military presence in 110 countries around the world. A year after his election, Barack Obama approved the new administration's first military budget. This amounts to $680 billion, $30 billion more than Bush's last defense budget.
January 20, 2009, a headline and history. Barack Obama takes the oath of office.
On this day, we come to proclaim an end to the petty grievances and false promises, the recriminations and worn-out dogmas that for far too long have strangled our politics.
Now, 3 years after his election, gridlock grips Washington, and Obama faces a tough campaign for a second term. About half of voters disapprove of his job performance. 3/4 think the country's on the wrong track.
Here's the reason why. Because the Democrats are now Republicans. And this isn't hyperbole.
The truth of the matter is that my policies are so mainstream that, you know, if I had said the same policies that I have back in the 1980s, I'd be considered a moderate Republican.
A year after his election, Barack Obama approved the new administration's first military budget. This amounts to $680 billion.
A $54 billion boost to the Department of Defense. President Donald Trump previewed his first budget plan on Monday, which will include a nearly 10% increase in defense spending. In exchange, he's proposing cutbacks for all non-military programs.
As we mentioned, Donald Trump today called for more military spending, more troops, more ships, more submarines, more planes. Well, what about U.S. in relation to other nations?
Yeah, well, that's really what counts, right? If you compare it based on military spending to the top 10 nations in the world. Look, down here at the bottom, you're going to have places like South Korea, Germany, and Japan at about $41 billion. Jump up to the middle, you get the UK at about $56 billion. You get Russia up here with around $66 billion. Then it's Saudi Arabia, interestingly enough. Then China with $215 billion. But that's only 9 of the top 10. Add the U.S. and look at this. Almost $600 billion in spending there. Almost as much as all the other 9 of the top 10 combined.
$30 billion more than Bush's last defense budget.
How is it possible that Barack Obama's first defense budget of $680 billion was roughly $80 billion more than Donald Trump's defense budget and $30 billion more than President Bush's war budget? Well, the answer is simple. Most mainstream Democrats and most mainstream Republicans are both pro-war.
Hillary Clinton, your foreign policy has been a disaster for our country and the world.
Okay, so just a fact, huh? Tulsi Gabbard's a Russian asset and Jill Stein's a Russian asset. That's how she puts it out there. I mean,
She's playing a very dangerous game.
I want to stay focused on exactly what's happening here, because this is a dangerous message that's being sent to the American people, that if anyone, any veteran, any service member, any American stands up and speaks out for ending these regime change wars, of ending this long-held foreign policy, this is how they will be treated. So I'm calling on every American to stand with me as we stand up for the truth, we stand up for peace, we stand up for our freedoms, including our freedom of speech in this country, and invite them to join my campaign in doing this.
But I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third-party candidate.
Gabbard didn't hold back in slamming Clinton, calling her the queen of warmongers.
It's devastated entire countries, millions of lives lost, refugee crises.
Half of all Syrians, 11 million, have been forced from their homes, and many of them are driving the largest refugee crisis in Europe since World War II.
Our enemy, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, strengthened.
Another major piece of what America fought for in Iraq was lost today. Islamic militants seized control of Mosul, Iraq's second largest city with 1.5 million people.
We've seen an increase in Iranian and Russian influence in the region. Turkey is emboldened, and we've seen an exacerbation of the problem of nuclear proliferation by overthrowing Gaddafi in Libya.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
What if I put my tinfoil hat on when I talk about these interventionist foreign policy wars and regime change wars? The tinfoil hat thinks military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
People being asked or forced into making decisions that benefit these giant corporations that make weapons and profit off of war.
Yeah.
This is the worst case scenario in terms of conspiracy theories. The idea that someone wants war so that they can make money and they don't care if people die.
Well, you can take your tinfoil hat off because the military-industrial complex is a real thing.
My name's Ben Carter, and within the first week of being in Iraq, I knew that that wasn't going to be the company that I wanted to be with. Halliburton was hired to provide clean, safe cooking, cleaning, shower water for the military. One of Halliburton's employees saw something wiggling in the water in his toilet bowl. So I went and tested the water in our water storage tanks. There was no chlorine in them, none. The water we showered in every single day was extremely contaminated. And when I talk about contaminated water, I'm saying malaria, typhus, giardia, cryptosporidium. I mean, the list is really, really long.
Halliburton is accused by its own employees of exposing troops to contaminated water in Iraq.
When I tried to notify the troops that they may be exposed to a serious health risk, I was told that the military was none of my concern.
They were only concerned with making their profit and didn't care how it may affect the troops. Of the 67 water treatment plants that Halliburton run, 63 of them weren't providing safe water.
Let us remember what President Dwight D. Eisenhower said. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children, end quote. And just as he was about to leave office in 1961, Eisenhower was so concerned about the growing power of the weapons industry that he issued this warning. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
What most people don't know is that his first draft of that speech said Congressional Military Industrial Complex.
Whoa.
And somewhere between the draft and the speech that was delivered, he took out that word congressional. But he was directly connecting those dots.
Whoa.
That some may say, oh, well, that's just a conspiracy theory. But he was connecting those dots with the influence that the military industrial complex has on leaders in Congress who are making decisions about how our money is spent and where our troops are sent off into battle.
Congressional military industrial complex. Wow. I need extra foil.
The legal way of stealing from the government or taxpayers' money.
The Pentagon audit released last night that found the company is overcharging taxpayers.
Now, were these contracts profitable for KBR Halliburton? Yes, they were. They made a profit of $2.3 billion in 2005. The year before, they had lost $1 billion. In 2003, they had lost $0.85 billion.
Halliburton Company billed taxpayers for its contract work in Iraq.
Again, quoting from Halliburton's 2005 financial statement annual report, laundry services. Of the laundry services they provided to the Defense Department, $18 million was withheld because there was an inadequate levels of documentation supporting the services that were billed.
It is your money that's being used.
These contracts are managed under a system called Cost Plus, which is the opposite of trying to save money. It guarantees that everything that you buy will be paid back and reimbursed if it's seen as justified, and you'll be given a profit in addition.
A cost-plus arrangement that critics say leaves little incentive to save. The more taxpayer dollars Halliburton spends, the more Halliburton makes.
Cost Plus encourages you to run up the cost of a program because you are going to get a percentage of the end result. And so there's no incentive to stay at Motel 6. Stay at the Ritz-Carlton in Qatar, folks.
The place that they chose for orientation in Kuwait was a huge resort set right on the ocean. Had, I think, 3 swimming pools.
So it was better than the Wyndham in Texas or the Ritz. It was fancied up.
Marble floors, mahogany woodwork. It's just beautiful.
They had sea-doos, jet skis they could use.
You could go and rent wave runners and go out and play in the water.
We were renting wave runners, and we got paid by the hour to do it. I was told this: don't question it, enjoy it,